What's up, everybody? It's TZ here, and I am alive, man. I am alive. I feel alive because I'm experiencing everything that a person goes through in the course of a life, man. I couldn't imagine if you got everything out of life you wanted instantaneously, what it would be like. It takes the fun out of it. It takes the climax out of life. It takes the it takes the plot building. It takes the resolution out of life. Yeah, I remember back in grade school in English class where you were learning about you were learning about the bones of a story, the skeletal system of a story, right? So when we read a novel, I remember back in like fourth and fifth grade, our teacher would lay out a piece of paper, and on that paper was an outline, and we would have to read the short story or we would have to read the novel, and then we would have to go and write out. This is reading comprehension. We would have to write out what the setting was, who the main characters were. We would have to write out the plot. We would have to write out and identify the rise in action. Then we would have to write out and identify the climax. Then we would have to identify, I think it was called the falling, basically the opposite of the rise in action. Maybe it was the fall in action or something like that. And then the resolution. And what's beautiful about that is a complete story. Imagine now that what I just laid out for you, you had the beginning, and then you got your rise in action, you got your climax, then it comes back down, and then you got your resolution, the whole point of the story, right? Imagine if life was like a diagonal line, just going straight up. Ain't no, like, there's no bumps, there's no bruises collected along the way, there's no there's nothing that the main character has to overcome. There's no antagonist. There's no journey of self discovery that the main character has to overcome. Nobody wants to watch a movie like that. Nobody wants to hear a story like that. If if a guy goes if a guy goes through every single problem, coming out 100%. He's never knocked off his pivot. He never has to. He never has to get back up from anything in life. That's not an attractive story. It's not very relatable to most people, right? But people, people can, t- people can relate to a person who has been knocked down. People can relate to a person who has been at the depths of life, who have fed on the bottom of life, who have had to manage to survive on the scraps of life, who have had to burst through the mediocrity of life, the monotony of life, people who have searched and toiled and found meaning in their life. People can relate to that. Um, how many people are just living? They're just they're just existing, you know? No real direction, no real target that they're aiming for. How many people do we know are like that, man? So it's very inspirational to hear a story of somebody who experienced the same exact thing at some point, but who made a decision to accept those bumps and accept those bruises that come along whenever you decide to create a story that's worth telling, you know? Um, for example, there's this guy in the UFC right now. His name's Islam Makhachev. I believe he fights in the lightweight division. Russian dude, beast, absolute monster. Islam Makhachev is like, he's like 25-1. Now, them Russian dudes from over there in Dagestan, Russia, them dudes are amazing wrestlers. They are great fighters, man. They just have a tenacity about them. They have a different type of dog in them, man. They got that dog in them. And those are some tough guys, right? They train hard, starting out real young. And Islam Makhachev is the current lightweight champion of the entire world in the UFC. And he started out, he was like 15-0 or something like that. Don't quote me exactly, but he was like 15-0, running through everybody he fought, man. Every dude he fought, he was whooping they behind, right? And then all of a sudden, he fought this one dude one day, and he got caught slipping. And Islam Makhachev got knocked out. He got punched in the jaw, he got knocked out. And he has not lost a fight since. He eventually attained the championship, the lightweight championship. And now, the dude's like the most decorated lightweight champion of all time or something like that. They calling him an all-timer. He's a pound for pound #1 fighter in the world in mixed martial arts. But my point in bringing him up is that his trajectory was so dang crazy. He was just running through everybody. It's hard to beat 15 dudes in a row without losing, man. When they training just as hard as you probably, they want it just as much as you. They probably have a passion for the sport just as much as you. They got their reasons why they're doing the same thing you doing, you know? And it didn't matter. He was running through them. But one day, he got caught slipping and he got knocked out, man. And he had to digest that loss. We talking about a guy that's not used to losing. And so what that loss did for him, he learned from the loss, right? And then he used that loss as a fuel to write his story, okay? Because his story was going like this. Then he took that loss, it dipped a little bit, and now it's back like this. And to me, that's beautiful, man. When a guy could meet some adversity head on, you know, whether it was planned adversity that we sign up for, or whether it's adversity that you just don't see coming, like an overhand right that comes right over the top of your guard and punch you right in the chin, like Islam Makhachev, right? Well, this adversity you don't see coming, man, people can relate to that. That makes for a wonderful story. And I feel like in my 25 years of life, I've been met with a ton of adversity, okay? I say about, 45 to 55% of that adversity was adversity that I signed up for. And I signed up for that adversity knowing that once I sign up for this adversity, it's gonna make me a better version of myself, okay? I accepted the adversity because of the dude I would become, okay? After having lived through that adversity. The things that I would get from it, the wisdom, the experience, the understanding, the feeling of knowing what it's like to be at the bottom, the feeling of knowing what it's like to start at ground zero, right? That's a priceless commodity, man. Starting something raw and natural, man. And the other The other 45, 50%, or whatever it is, of adversity is adversity that I did not sign up for. It's adversity that comes naturally simply by waking up and taking another breath, right? You know, a lot of adversity is not stuff that we would choose, man. If you got a parent or a sibling or whatever that passes away, man, that's something you might have to grieve. And that's not something that most people sign up for. That's not something we want. We don't like the thought of losing nobody, right? If you got just in your relationships, if dynamics change within your relationship because you changed or the other party in the relationship changed, right? That may be hard on a person, man. That might take a toll on a person. But that's adversity that you didn't sign up for, man. You lose your job, whatever the case may be, man. Just the ebbs and the flows of life. But one thing, and this is the point that I'm getting to, one thing about these ebbs and these flows in this life, and one thing about the adversity in this life is that it makes for a wonderful story because people can relate. I always say this, man. God gave me this quote when I was a child, dog. I was like 12, 13 years old, a child. And I'm sitting in class one day, not paying attention to whatever the teacher talking about because I ain't interested, right? And I used to doodle. I used to write notes, man. I used to write poetry in the middle of class. I'm sitting in class, and the quote popped up in my mind. You know, all humans may come from a different place. And we may not have an identical background, and we may not have an identical life experience. We may not come from the same tax bracket. Our parents may not have the same amount of income, and we might not have the same size house and the same level of niceness of cars, right? But one thing that every human being, regardless of race, religion, creed, net worth, has in common is we all know pain, okay? We all know pain. And the Lord gave me that revelation when I was a child. And what that did was that allowed me to empathize with every human being that I ever came in contact with. And it allows me to see past the theatrics and see past the actions of the people. And it allows me to see them on the inside for who they really are. And that's for the most part. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I fail at that, right? Sometimes I get in arguments with people and disagreements with people, and I bypass empathizing for them. I bypass trying to understand where they're coming from and their point of view and why they're doing what they're doing. Sometimes I want to attack the individual, okay? If I'm at work and one of my coworkers say something stupid to me, or they're inciting a fight with me, and I decide, you know what, I got time today for a fight, and then I start arguing and I start going back and forth with this person, that's me bypassing the empathy part that I just talked about. Really, this person may not have a problem with me personally. Maybe they are expressing what's going on the inside of them, and the depression or the anxiety or the shortcomings in their own life. They're just manifesting that in a contentious argument with me, if that makes sense, right? And first of all, as a Christian, first of all, as a follower of Christ, and first of all, as the man, second of all, as the man that I have a vision of who I want to be, you know, I need to do a better job at the empathy portion of this life and not engaging in that foolishness with people. Because at the end of the day, everybody knows pain. And we can all relate to people based off the fact that we all know pain, right? And some people just project it in different ways. Some people deal with their pain by causing other people pain. Misery loves company, right? And then some people just bottle it in until they can't handle it no more and they do irrational acts. But the fact that pain is known by everyone makes for a great story when a person overcomes it, right? It makes for a great story when somebody achieves something beautiful and something that they set out for, regardless of the pain that they are experiencing and regardless of the circumstances and the setbacks that seem to keep happening. You know, that's what separates the goods from the greats, man. That's what separates the average from the phenomenal. Is the people that, yeah, everybody know pain, but the people that go through that pain and they could still find a way to smile, they could still find a way to have joy, they can still find a way to give thanks, they can still find a way somewhere deep inside of them to be grateful. Even when all of their efforts are going towards whatever they set out for, and the return is not coming back on all the investments that they keep making day after day, you know? That's a beautiful story when that breakthrough finally happens for that person, man. And that's the story that everybody is drawn to, man. The overcomer, right? The person that goes through the pain, the person that has that full story, the person that's done been at the rock bottoms, in the valleys, the person that's done reached the top of the mountain, right? Like that's a story that a young person seeking wisdom could really learn from, man. So hopefully somebody got something from this video. I know what's in my heart, and I pray that I'm doing at least a satisfactory job of relaying the message to you people, man. So I love you. I love you. Have a wonderful day and resonate and think about this message, man. Let it resonate on your mind. Y'all be blessed.